you guys, and welcome back to my channel. Ronnie's got an itch apparently. Did you get it? Today I'm going to be sharing with you part 3 of my bedroom makeover. We're doing it for around $100 or so. We're trying to keep it very budget friendly. Lots of DIYs, and today is no exception. I'm going to show you guys how I put together a headboard. We're going to do a DIY lamp situation, and we're also going to be making a pillow cover. And then next episode we're going to be doing all the finishing touches, decorating, making frames, all sorts of fun things. If you missed the last video, I will have that linked down below. The last episode we did some painting, we did a DIY drawer front, and I also redid a side table with you. So lots of ideas for doing some renovations or making some updates in your home on a budget. But today we're going to be starting with the headboard. If you guys saw my inspiration photo, I wanted to make something that was sort of a mix on a modern and traditional style. And I love the idea of taking some molding and making some mitered boxes basically on a piece of wood. So one of the main things that really helped me to keep the cost down on this DIY is the fact that I already have a really big piece of paneling. Now it sort of looks like shiplap. It's just a wood paneling. It's solid wood. We can sand it down, we can stain it. I used it actually as a headboard for my dorm last year, just to sort of put behind my bed to sort of give the illusion of a headboard, which is why it's sort of painted in a funny way. But today we're going to be sanding that down, and then I did purchase some trim pieces that I want to make some mitered boxes on. I also have a couple gadgets that I purchased for this to sort of make this process a lot easier because I don't have a miter saw. So if you want to figure out a way to do that without power tools, this is the video for you. So I'm going to get the heat going in here. It is a high of like 40 today. It's really cold. We're gonna get it nice and toasty in here so that way we can sand. I've got on my sweats. I'm not dressed fancy at all because we're gonna get a little messy. So before we continue on with our headboard, get it all finished up along with all of our other DIYs for this space, I wanted to take a second to thank Teddy Blake New York for collaborating with me in this portion of today's video. If you've never heard of Teddy Blake New York, they are a luxurious handbag brand. All of their handbags are made in Italy. They have a huge selection of handbags, different sizes, and they're honestly just beautiful. So when they reached out and asked me to review one of their handbags, I was super excited to get it in the mail. Funny enough, when I was actually looking through their selection, the one that I gravitated towards was called Ava, and this is what it looks like. This is the 11-inch Ava handbag, and it is in the color light beige. I love the design of this handbag. It's very classic, very simple, but it's so high quality. I ended up going with this 11-inch because I didn't want it to be too big, but I still feel like there's a really good amount of storage in it. I could fit a wallet, keys, chapstick, pretty much anything I would need to bring on the go. I also love all the brass details, like the hardware as well as their logo. Something I also love about this bag is the fact that it does have a handle, but it also comes with a longer strap. Now this strap strap is also adjustable, so you can wear it as a crossbody bag with any sort of outfit, and you can easily remove it to be able to just carry it around by the singular handle. I am super happy with this purse. I love the style of it. I love the versatility of it. Of course, they have a bunch of different colors, but I love how this one in particular goes with everything. So this is just one of those things that's going to be really nice to have in my collection for years and years to come. So if you're interested in investing in a piece like this, I can have this specific one linked down below, as well as their website, so you can check out their selection. And one more huge thank you to Teddy Blake New York for sending me this bag. I am so excited to use it for years and years to come for all different types of occasions. So let's go ahead and get back to the video. Good morning. It's actually quite a few days later since I've actually been able to work on this project. Life gets super busy, but we are back at working on our headboard. It is actually very cold outside today. It's like 23 degrees, and we're going to be using wood glue to add some trim pieces. So I wanted to make sure I was inside in a more like controlled environment. So I'm down in our basement, and then my craft room is right behind me. That's where the actual headboard is. And I have like a cutting station to cut all my pieces, and then we will glue everything on in there. So I do not have, or I don't own actual power tools. I would love to someday. So you could use like a miter saw for cutting trim pieces or anything like that. But I essentially found this product in doing some research on how to cut trim without having to use any power tools. So we have this little product right here. It is called a miter box, and essentially it comes with its own saw, and it has all of the degrees sort of on the side. But basically you take the saw and you just slide it into your slot, you saw back and forth, and you can cut your piece. It also just works super well because these pieces are so thin. Like, you definitely could use a miter saw for sure, but because they're so thin, this just makes more sense. So I'm gonna do my best to show you what these pieces look like. So I went to Menards and I found these. I think they were like $7, maybe $8 a piece, somewhere in there. They are 7 foot long. It looks like I have 3 of them, but I feel like I remember buying 4, so I may have just left one out in the barn where we were working. But this is what it looks like. It's super simple. It does have a little bit of a design on it. It is a little bit thin, but essentially the design for this headboard, I don't know if I'm gonna be able to make it exactly, but I love the idea of creating like mitered boxes in the headboard, and then I'm also going to frame out the headboard just because the edges of the wood are raw at the moment, so I want to make it look as finished as possible. And I've never made like a mitered box before. I thought this would be a perfect beginner project because all I have to do is 45-degree angles, and because they're so thin, I don't need to use any brad nails or anything. I'm going to be using some wood glue just to keep it in place and then tape it so it can cure. So first I'm going to start doing the actual border around the whole entire headboard. Essentially, I'm going to start by cutting a 45-degree angle at the end. Then I'll measure how long we need it to be on the sides and everything, and I'm going to be doing 3 out of the 4 sides because the bottom is going to be tucked behind the bed, and we're not going to see that part. It'll actually be easier to be able to slide it in. like a nice border to give it like a really finished look, I want to measure out the boxes. So I went upstairs to my room and actually did like some measurements of where I want the boxes to start, because it is going to tuck a little bit underneath the bed on this side. So I determined that 14 inches is about where it's going to start. And I am going to double check this because it is almost like half of the height of this, because it's 30 inches. But after that, I do need to figure out where I want all of my boxes. I'm just going to use the tapes to make sure that I get like a level line or a straight line. And I'm not sure if I want to do 2 or 3 boxes, because it seems like they're going to be a little bit on the smaller side. I should be able to do 3 because that was sort of like the original inspiration. But I'm going to go double check that measurement, make sure that I still like it, and then we will just map out all the boxes. I should be able to take off these pieces of tape soon because they have been sitting here for 30 minutes or so. The tape was really just to hold it in place for like 10-15 minutes while it really adhered to the headboard. So as you guys saw, we just filled in all of the little nooks and crannies in between the 2 trim pieces on the headboard. That way it looks really seamless. That is setting up, and while we do that, I wanted to work on another project for this video. So I have this yellow pillow. It just came with my old bedding set from probably 5 or 6 years ago, and it's still in really good condition. It's just the cover needs a little bit of updating. It needs just something a little bit different. And you guys know that I love to make pillowcases. So when I was at Hobby Lobby, I found this for like $3 or $4. It's just a really pretty sort of moody, almost sage green with some cream stripes on it. In the next episode, we actually are going to be upgrading our bedding. I'm so excited for it. The color scheme itself isn't going to change a lot, but needless to say, I did want a pop of color. And since this is sort of our accent color that we are incorporating basically into the whole room, I thought it would be perfect. And we are going to be doing it horizontal, so like the line's horizontal, because we have the storage bins that are vertical, so I just wanted to change it up a little bit. If you want like a full tutorial or like a full walkthrough of how I do this process, I will have that video linked down below. I go a lot more into depth in how I do it, but I did measure this pillow. It's about 16 by 16, and because it still has like a good sort of like cushion to it, it still has like a lot of stuffing in it, I decided to do 17.5 by 17.5. That allows for seam allowance and also just making sure that the pillowcase isn't super tight to our pillow. Also, it's like 10 degrees outside, and because I do want to stain that headboard today, we are currently warming up our barn outside. That way it is good for staining. You definitely don't want to stain when it's super cold outside because it's just not going to stain the wood properly. It's not going to go well. So we're warming that up now, and obviously while that's going on, we're going to do this pillow and just give it a little bit of a refresh. Our pillow all covered. It looks so good. It even is just a little bit tight. If you wanted it to be a little bit looser than this, just add an extra ½ inch or an inch or so, and I think it'd be perfect. But it fits it perfectly. Even though I love the way it looks now, I wanted to add a little bit more of like a custom, very designer look, I guess, so make it look more like I bought it from the store. So I found some white embroidery thread. It's just a pure white, and then a needle. I'm not like super familiar with embroidery or anything like that, but I essentially just want to do like a pattern all along the edges. I'm gonna take this out again because I don't want it to actually stitch into the pillow and like hold it together, and I'm just gonna go all the way around the pillow, give it a really fun design, and it's just gonna add a lot of texture as well. did some final detail sanding on this and it is ready to go, ready to get stained. Hi puppy, you want to help? So when I ordered the stain for this, for some reason I was thinking that I did my end table in the color Provincial, so that's what I ordered. However, I did do it in this Kona gel stain, which is quite a bit darker. So this is the Provincial. It's sort of like a medium toned, nice warm wood. And I did end up going with gel stain too. I just have a lot of experience with it and it works really well. But of course, because this is actual wood, you could use normal stain. And then this is Kona. It's a very rich sort of chocolate brown. And I'm thinking because there are so many details on here, I don't want them to get lost in the darker color. I honestly think that the Kona gel stain didn't show up super dark on my end table, so I am gonna start with Provincial first. And I might do just like a light layer of the Kona on top just to sort of give it that depth. But we're gonna give it one really good coat of this. We're gonna let it dry probably overnight, see how it's looking in the morning, and then I will seal it with like just a semi-gloss sealer that I have on hand from Varathane. And I'll actually attach it to the wall and then see it come to life. The last DIY we need to do before bringing this whole entire room together is bring in a different source of lighting. If you saw some of the previous videos of what my room looked like before, I have this really small lamp and I wanted to bring in something a bit more big scale, something ceramic if I could. However, buying that new can be very expensive, close to $100. So I found this one on Marketplace that we're going to be doing a little bit of a DIY on to make it look very old world and aged. So I have this pleated lampshade. I actually purchased this from Walmart. The one that it came with didn't have a very nice smell to it, so we ended up having to replace it. So I spent $8 on the base and $22 on the shade, bringing us to $30. So to start off, I'm going to be taping everything off. I'm going to tape off the hardware on the top, and then I'm also going to tape the cord just to make sure we're not going to be getting any paint on those areas and going to be keeping it in one spot. So this lamp base is actually ceramic. I tried to sand it to sort of get the finish off, but I found that it really wasn't working or doing anything. So I pulled out my Zinsser primer and I just did a couple coats of this all over the lamp base. Primer gives paint something to stick to, so since I wasn't able to sand it down and get more of a rough absorbent texture, this was the best way to go, and I just applied that with a sponge brush, and this dries pretty fast, so I was actually able to do this pretty well. So when I was looking at lamps online, this seller was actually selling 2 lamps, and I picked this one because I loved the handle detail and I love the urn shape of it. It's very similar to popular lamps that I've been seeing all over the internet. So the fact that I was able to just paint this to be exactly what I wanted it to be was absolutely perfect. So this is what it looks like with the 2 coats on it. It's just made a really nice neutral base. It'll be easier to cover up the details, and again, just give the paint something to stick to and make it last. So next I'm going to be mixing up my color. You can really do any color you would like. I'm kind of going for a grayish color, so a little bit of beige, but also on the neutral side I want to bring in some warmth into this room. And this isn't really a color that I've introduced in my space yet, but I really want to start doing in other ways. So I'm mixing this color together until I like the result, and then I'm just adding in some baking soda. This is an old school trick that's really going to give paint a lot of texture, and even though my base is ceramic, this works really well for non-ceramic pieces to make them look really expensive and high quality. So for technique, I found that this is the best way to do it. So I'm just taking some paper towel, sort of scrunching it up and dabbing it onto our lamp base. This gives that really speckled, weathered feel, and it also has some really good coverage. I did 2 different coats mainly because of the heart detail in the middle. I just wanted to make sure everything was covered up and that we would have a really nice base to build some more colors onto. So I'm just going to take some time to make sure this layer is perfect, and then we'll start building some layers. To add in some depth, I'm just adding in a dark sort of chocolate brown color. I didn't put any baking soda in this one because our base is already nice and textured. All of these accent colors, just to add some depth, don't need it because it's going to go right on top. So basically I went back and forth between this color and our base color to make sure everything was a nice medium tone. No places were too dark or too light, and I kept on going until I had my desired aged look. So this is how our lamp turned out. I am so thrilled by it. I don't know if you can tell how actually very large this is. It's like 2 feet tall, but I love all of the details. I love the very classic old world feel, but it has a very high-end feel as well because it's just so big. And then the pleated shade I feel like just adds so much character and so much texture to this as well. I am just so happy with this. If you find any sort of lamp or lamp base, either thrifted or through Marketplace, I definitely recommend picking it up because this is such an easy DIY to just make it look so much more expensive. So this lamp is actually going to go where my original lamp went, but there is one final detail on this lamp that I want to change up. You can't really tell from far away, but when you get close, you can see this sort of rod in the middle is discolored. It sort of has some yellowing and just a little bit of discoloration, so I wanted to cover that up. That part of the lamp does not get hot at all, so I figured we could actually cover it up. So I have a little piece of vinyl here. It's just a black piece of vinyl. I was going to do gold, but I didn't have anything on hand besides like rose gold, and I really didn't want to go with that. So basically I'm just going to wrap this all the way around it. It's removable. We can peel it off if we need to, and it's just going to disguise it and make it go with the room a little bit better. Now let's address the headboard. As you can see, it is already installed on the wall. We did this last night and we sort of did it late at night, so I didn't film any of it. But basically we found a couple studs in the wall and we put 2 screws on both studs. So there's one towards the top of the frame and there's one towards the bottom of the frame that you can't see at all. And basically with the 2 at the top, I put some wood filler over the top to sort of level out that surface. And then I went in with a little paintbrush and put the same gel stain over the top of it to disguise it. It looks really good. You really can't tell if you don't know where it is. They are practically invisible now and it looks so good. We also did cut out a little section for the outlet that's behind the bed as well. But overall we were able to get it on the wall. It matches our nightstand. I feel like it just adds a lot of depth and really makes the bed feel a lot more substantial in this space, which is what I really wanted. But before this video ends, I do want to add on a few different details, just sort of bring everything together. We have to add our pillow up here, but this room is really starting to come together. Alright, you guys, that is going to wrap up episode 3 of my extreme bedroom makeover on a budget. As a reminder, we've only spent about $120 on this whole makeover, combining our expenses from last episode and this episode, and it just goes to show that a little bit of money and some DIY can really do a lot to really change up your space. This space looks so different. Everything is slowly coming together and it just looks so beautiful. Next week is going to be the final episode and the final reveal of this room. We're going to be doing some decorating, some rearranging, we have some art to hang up, and if you made it this far in the video, next week I do have a really fun special announcement for you guys. I've been working behind the scenes for a little while, sort of putting this project together for you, so you definitely don't want to miss that. And just as a reminder, if you're interested in any Teddy Blake New York products, I do have some information in the description box down below. They have a sale going on right now, but I do have a coupon code that you can use after the sale. But yeah, thank you guys so much for spending some time with me on my channel. Let me know in the comments below what part of this makeover is your favorite, maybe some things you want to try for yourself, and I will see you guys in my next video. Bye, you guys.